Hello, welcome to the CUBE Pod here in Maui for our special on location presentation, ACTAI Global, the CUBE and NYSC Wired here. The CUBE Pod is really in kind of a unique position to just capture all the community, all the knowledge, all the athletic kiteboarding, just a great community. Sensi Graves here. She's a professional kiteboarder doing some awesome platform work around coaching, enlightenment. I call spirituality, which is a trend that's hot right now in terms of like the human aspect. Of course, AI is the human in the loop, and it's changing the culture. Sensi, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you coming on. Loved your speech yesterday. Let's get vulnerable. I feel really good here. I love it here. Is that vulnerable? No, it's not. How you doing?
I'm doing super great. Thanks for having me. As you said, I am passionate about the intersection of business and mindset and spirituality. And I really believe that we're all goal oriented and we are achievers and we set really high benchmarks for ourselves. That's the stretching piece of being a human. I think what's more important, what we're lacking a little bit, is the contentment and the peace with who we are and what we're doing. And I really believe that when we cultivate that peaceful side, that trust that everything is happening for us, that we can get through hard times, and that contentment, that's how we can really have the ripple effect that will change humanity.
I think you're onto something really huge because, like in the talks here, obviously the theme is, a lot of tech, deep tech, human impact. Jesse gave a talk yesterday. He's was in this community since he was 10 years old. He's had his moments. He's doing great. He talked about having a family, and there was an old adage was, life is simple. You work hard, you hit your goals, be an achiever, be a professional kiteboarder, be the world champion, and then you have a life. After that, or you're grinding, maybe do a little bit of, it was pretty simple. We're living in a complex world now where having a family kind of wakes everyone up because that's natural progression. But now we're in a world where there are other things that aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. You can have a hard-working career, you can pursue a goal, whether you're an athlete or a professional, but you can actually live life. And another theme is being present. Why are we staring at our screens on the plane all the time or not communicating? So there's a lot more new things that are creating complexity, not just the tech complex, which we talk about all the time on theCUBE, is, reduce complexity, abstract away all that complexity. In life, it's complex. You have a platform you're working on now. You work with senior people, achievers, builders, entrepreneurs, male, female. What are you seeing out there? What are some of the indicators? First of all, do you agree it's complex and it needs to be simpler? And how does that impact people?
Yes. Okay. I love that question. It's certainly complex. And actually, I was just in Mexico for 2 months. Fortunate enough to be there for the winter with my 9-month-old son and my husband. And we lived a simple life. I was just working from home. I don't have a lot of friends in that spot that we were at. And so people weren't contacting me as much. And I was like, this is great. I'm not on my phone a lot. I was only working part-time because I had just had a baby. I had time to think, get on the water. And I was like, this is really the true value. And I do want to make a point with, yes, our world is getting more complex, but I do think that AI actually can be a tool to simplification. And I think that's going to be a lot of the value in the future, and a lot of what makes a successful life is actually how simple can you make it so that you can have freedom, peace, once again, and that contentment to go spend your time elsewhere. Because what I see, to adjust that point, is that we're achieving a lot of the time and we get to a goal and then we don't feel like we did enough. And we have that imposter syndrome where we're in rooms like here where there's a lot of big names and a lot of good energy and a lot of people doing amazing things. And we're like, who am I to be here in this space? But when we show up open-hearted and feeling like we're enough, that's when we can have that impact.
Also, loneliness is a big thing, too. People give, look at he's crushing it. She's amazing. Look at her Instagram. Her life's amazing. Or he's such an achiever. He must be so happy. It's lonely at the top, or it's lonely in journeys.
It is. And then we look and we, once again, think we're not doing enough. We compare ourselves to those other people. But when we reverse engineer and actually say, wait, okay, it doesn't matter what level you get to until you really believe in yourself and are proud of yourself where you're at, you're never going to feel like enough. And everyone actually is feeling the same way. You can get top level people that have houses on the beach in Maui and they're still feeling like they're not doing enough, or they're comparing themselves to the next level.
Or don't have any friends. It's like, you get to a spot, you're like, wait a minute, I just was grinding. Where's my friends? Well, they were moving on or doing other things. Let's talk about building life, building companies, achieving as a professional kiteboarder. There's a lot of work involved in all this. There's a lot of grinding. You have the reps. You got to go to the gym. You do training. How do you coach? How do you advise people? Because when you're doing stuff, life throws at you curveballs, right? And how you respond to situations defines you. And some people handle it well. Some people handle it and then achieve it, but then there's consequences. There's a lot of not complexity. There's a lot of things that could happen to reacting to a situation. It could be a founder saying, wow, I didn't get that customer, or I need a round of funding, or hey, it didn't go well, or I had an employee who quit, or hey, this has happened in my life. What do you do? How do you coach people? What are some of the things that's going on around this? How do you react and still succeed and not give up?
Yeah.
Because giving up is when people kind of realize if they just stayed in a little longer.
Yeah.
It's usually worse right before you hit the line.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Okay. A few things there.
Yeah.
Number one, there is no failure. You either win or you learn. And so I think redefining that failure piece allows us to show up as beginners, because it's uncomfortable. Yeah. It's uncomfortable to come out, learn to kite surf, and you're like, I'm a beginner, I suck at this, especially when you're used to being an achiever and successful in other areas. It's humbling. Yeah. But when we allow our ego to sit down and realize the second piece, which is it's not about us. Yeah. It's actually about the people that you're serving, whether that's your customer or your team that's underneath you or the people that you're impacting and showing up for. When we do things and create things and put things out in the world, it's not about us. Yeah. It's about those people that we're showing up for and serving. And so I always invite the people that I mentor and coach to look at, why is it you want to do this thing? Like, what is the real underlying motivation for you to continue showing up? Because if you don't have a deep connected why, like a purpose, you're not going to want to keep going through the hard times. Yeah. It's not going to allow for that motivation, the momentum. And then you really have to understand that failure doesn't define you, and reward yourself for your effort and not the actual achievement of the goal. Yeah,
I mean, I love the idea of thinking differently. It's mindset.
It's mindset.
You know, in all the interviews I've done here with kite surfing pros, I ask the mindset question because it's not about just athletes. It's athletics. Mindset in life is a key thing. Can you share a story, people you've coached, worked with? You don't have to name names, or just you can anonymize it, but like situation that someone can relate to, a story around a breakthrough or a setback, how that happened, how you worked with, say, a male, a female, the different differences, how people think. Can you share a story around some of the work you've done? Yeah.
Well, I'll share an individual story from myself, which is around the failure piece of things and not wanting to show up. And it's related to kiteboarding. So have you heard of Growth versus Fixed Mindset?
Yes, of course,
okay, Carol Dweck wrote.
I love it.
Right, fantastic book. A lot of people don't realize that we have either her work is on the psychology of success. She wrote a book called Mindset. It's a little dense, but it's phenomenal. And just having that awareness of, people usually approach things from either a growth mindset, and let's define them really quickly. Fixed mindset people believe that their talents are inherent, that what you're born with is what you get, that no amount of effort or energy will help you improve at something.
Exactly.
And then growth mindset people believe the opposite. They believe that they can get better at things. They believe that the more you try at something, the more you can improve, and that talents are not fixed. When I read this book, I was like, okay, I for sure have a growth mindset.
I'm sold. You have me at growth.
But I was like, I have a growth mindset. Yeah, I don't even need to, take anything away from this. And then come to find out, I actually had a fixed mindset around kiteboarding.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Because you're like, I'm good. Look at me.
No, because I would be, a lot of pro kiteboarders actually have a gymnastics background, because you need good air awareness kiting. You see Jesse out there, doing all those tricks in there. He needs to know where he's at in the air. You need to have body control, air awareness. So actually a lot of pro kiteboarders have gymnastics upbringing. I didn't have that. I went to school with 50 kids in my high school, 7 kids in my graduating class. We didn't have any resources. There was no gymnastics. And I had this fixed mindset around, I am just bad at air awareness. And I figured this out after I read the book, had that awareness that this was even a thing. And I found myself training for kite competitions, being out on the water. And I competed in park riding. That's whole wormhole, but you're basically going off like they have in snowboarding, kickers and jumps.
You're doing a lot of tricks, rails and kick-ups? Kickers,
yeah. That's it. You got it. And so I would be going off the kicker, trying to do a trick, which requires air awareness. And Brandon, my husband, would be coaching me, and he'd be like, "You can do it, you can do it." And I would be like, I can't do it. I would say
You're
this
scared.
out loud.
Yeah.
I was scared, and I had this limiting belief around I have bad air awareness, a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
I'm just not good at this. And I would get frustrated, and I would have to go into the beach and I'd be like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if we say we can't do something, we're not going to be able to do it.
Your mind talks to you.
But it was more I was not understanding that being a beginner was okay, that through energy and effort I could get better, and that I maybe had bad air awareness, but I could improve.
Yeah.
And so we hold ourselves back in a lot of ways by telling ourselves these stories of I'm just not good enough and I'm bad at that thing. And so that's just the one piece of what I see come up a lot with founders, entrepreneurs, leaders, anyone that's trying to create impact in the world is, I might just be holding myself back in the stories and the words I'm saying.
Yeah, and people, when they're in uncomfortable positions, tend to default to a mindset, fixed or growth, but it's hard. I mean, how did you crack that code? Because if you're scared and you have the fixed mindset, how did you get there? What did it take? What was the moment the breakthrough crossed over? Did you have to just let it go, or
here's the thing, and I'm actually writing a book on this because it's not one moment.
Yeah.
It's a continual development of noticing the thoughts and stories that you're telling yourself, uncovering your patterns, learning about yourself, unpeeling the layers of you, which is painful because you come across limiting beliefs and things that you're like, oh my gosh, that's a wound.
So new habit loops, basically. You're creating new muscle.
Atomic Habits is a huge part of it. Yeah. That book is phenomenal, and looking at, because we're habitual creatures. Humans, we do things habitually because we can't process all the thoughts that are going on in our heads.
Did you have a reward system when you achieved it?
Yes, I do. Well, self high five. Self high five. I'm doing a great job, and that actually releases feel good chemicals.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Self high five.
Yes. Self high five.
I'm going to incorporate that into my.
I'm doing a great job.
But you don't overdo it. You got to be legit high fives. It can't be, hey, top of the morning to myself, I'm great.
I would argue you could do that.
Okay, all right.
Because why not? When we create more success, but when we show up feeling awesome, because then you have motivation, energy, your brain actually works better from a positive mindset. And so we have this belief in our society that I'm not doing enough, and that's what's going to help me reach my goals. I still need to do this. I still need to do this. If I tell myself I'm doing enough, I'm not going to have goals anymore. But that's not true. You'll have more energy for your goals.
Talk about coaching entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs have, I call it this fact and fiction of entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur since 1997. I've seen the different generational movements. It was I call it old school, where you get the funding, you grind it out, and then it became the bro culture. And then now we have in a much more diverse aperture of entrepreneurship, a much more different connective tissue around funding. Trust communities are emerging, like ACTAI and others. What's the state of the mindset of an entrepreneur, and how do you coach them? Because they're so focused on the North Star. They have a mission, they have a vision, and entrepreneurs that I know always pull their energy towards that goal, sometimes at a cost of relationships and at a cost for their lives, health, benefit. What's some experiences you've had with entrepreneurs coaching them?
Yeah.
We don't want the entrepreneurs to burn out. It's not a public service at this point.
Well, that's exactly it. It's actually going back to basics and really having accountability for how do you show up for yourself, number one, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And there's a really good analogy that I like, which is we're all vases as humans. There's water being dumped into us all the time. People around us, our companies, everything we're doing is surrounding the vase, and we can either get them wet. So the idea is to get the people around us wet by tipping over our own vase. And at that point, people around us get wet, but we are never filled up. Or we can allow ourselves to be so filled up that we overflow, and the result's the same. Either way, they get wet around us, but in one instance, we're completely filled up. And I think you're right in that we get so goal-oriented and really obsessed.
The cup's empty.
The cup's empty.
It's only one-dimensional cup. It's their personal tragedy, and sometimes there are people around them. Or if your cup is full and there's no one to spill on, so you got to be around people to share.
Looking at that, we do a lot of work around a wheel of life. So looking at all the areas in your life, significant other, friends and family, home environment, career, money, and grading yourself 1 to 10. 10 being the most magnificent thing, 1 being absolutely horrible. Where are you at? We're going for a wheel. We're not going for 10 in career and a 0 in relationships, because that's not what feels
it's not
fulfilled.
Balanced, not balanced at all. It's unsettled.
And it's having the strength to look at that, because it's, once again, it's scary to look at ourselves and to admit that we're not where we want to be.
This is phenomenal. Give us some tricks in the bag of tricks of filling the cup up. Let's call it that. What can we do? Let's just say, I'll take myself as an example. I work a lot. I want to fill my cup up. Well, I like kitesurfing. I know that's going to be a big part of the water in my cup, because it's fun and people's community is great. I can help add value and contribute. But what other techniques could people use? What are some of the tricks, things that people can do? Follow hobbies. I mean, that's what people default to, probably. Do hobbies. What other things?
So number 1 is celebrate your wins. Actually rewarding yourself for what you do on a daily basis. I teach my students having an end-of-day journal, which journaling is phenomenal. It's not going to solve all your problems, but having a great journal practice can help immensely. At the end of every single day, I invite them in. What is something awesome? You write 2 minutes. Don't make it difficult. Physical writing, because there's a lot of power.
The brain.
Yes. You got it. Apps. Yes. Yeah. And then, we're not trying to be more on our screens, right? We want to be focused, go inward.
I'm a nerd. I got to build an app for this. I don't want to write. But writing, actually, I did it. John Mack, who does Postcards to Humanity, had a project where you would write a postcard to humanity about almost like a time capsule vibe, where it's like, hey, AI, if you wrote AGI comes, here's what I hope humanity looks like. And I'm like, oh, this is great. You're going to build an app, right? He said, no, it's handwritten. I'm like, what? What? He said, no, I want it to sit at a desk and reflect.
Yes.
And I did 2 versions, one on a computer and one handwritten. Completely different responses.
Yes.
This one was like, boom, 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 like I felt like a mechanism. Oh, yeah, save AI, do good, tech for good. This one was like, helping family. It's like completely different.
Isn't that powerful?
Oh, it's very powerful.
Tons of power in writing things down. Having that objectivity that's the point of writing things. So you're seeing your thoughts. What are the thoughts I'm thinking recurring? Yeah. What are the things that I'm always telling myself? Writing those down.
Journal's one.
So journal one, but I want to say the specific things, because it's looking at what's something awesome that happened today. What am I proud of myself for? What did I accomplish today? Because you're creating that feeling of enoughness. I'm doing a great job, so that I can keep showing up for other people around me. So having that specific way. And then you're also, have you heard of the reticular activating system part of the brain? So you're training your brain to look for ways to support you through doing this. The reticular activating system is a part of the lizard brain. It's constantly scanning our environment, because we're being inundated with thousands of bits of information, right? We cannot take in all the sights, the sounds, the smells,
we have the ultimate
everything.
Computer vision in our eyes to brain.
So we're being inundated with information. The reticular activating system actually filters information to bring to our prefrontal cortex based on what we tell it's important. So that's why you can be in a crowded room, everyone's doing small talk, and you hear someone say your name across the room, and you're like, oh, Sensi, okay. Your brain picks that out because that's important to you. And so by doing these practices of what's something awesome that happened today, you're actually training your brain to look for ways that support that reality.
Great.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
It works.
So self-talk too as well.
Self-talk is the biggest part.
Don't get too enamored on, I'm coming to this event to do networking. I got to get my round of funding. Kind of zooming out. You're saying reprogram.
Reprogram. So this is a lot of the work of Joe Dispenza, which he talks about new neural pathways in the brain and reprogramming your brain. So we have journaling as one tool. But I would say what I invite people to start with is just noticing the thoughts. Trying to be aware of what are the thoughts I'm actually thinking, because your thoughts create your feelings, which create your actions in the world. For instance, if I come into this interview thinking I'm not good enough, I shouldn't even be here, I'm not going to do a good job. I'm going to show up like scared, not speaking about who I am or what I'm doing. And the
what questions is he going to ask me? I get that all the time. Can you ask me what questions? What should I be ready for? That's a fixed mindset.
Totally, because you're just thinking I'm not good enough.
Okay, so journal. Celebrate the accomplishments so you don't get too insecure about your achievements. That's what entrepreneurs, I can tell you from firsthand experience. Am I doing enough?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to change.
And then what's the other one?
So noticing your thoughts.
Noticing your thoughts, okay.
And that's the biggest part of this, is just start with, what are the stories I'm telling myself? You get to think what the thoughts that you think. You're in charge of that. I can walk around saying I'm doing a great job, or I can walk around saying I suck.
I love the pouring from the cup analogy, because I think, to me, that's like, take care of your own cup but pour.
Yeah.
Share.
Yeah.
And that's connects people. Final question. ACTAI is a great community. I've known Bill for 20 years. My first ACTAI here. Have my life as my kids are out of the house, I have more time. I know kite surfing was definitely going to be in my cup for sure. There's a lot of benefits, personal benefits I get out of learning how to kite surf, and I can see the benefit there. But look at this place. This is an amazing group of people. Share what ACTAI means to you, and what does it, if people have never heard of what Bill Tai has done in the community, what is ACTAI? Why is it important? And what are some of the things that it's accomplishing?
Bill said something yesterday, the founder of ACTAI, around empathy and building empathy through community. And I think that underlying all this stuff that we're trying to do as far as AI and impact and creating awesome companies and kiting is creating connections with humans that builds empathy, that allows us to have more understanding of other humans and really be more connected to the heart. I really think it's about operating out of our hearts, and that's what Bill leads with. He leads with his heart, and he's created something.
And the universe pulls to it.
Yes,
you don't have to be seeking all the time. You can just comes in. That's what I've noticed. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the pro tips and the coaching. I learned a lot. I feel like you poured a little bit of good water into my cup. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And everyone watching. I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. Thanks for watching here at ACTAI Global in Maui.